It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Just before the show began today, Apple shipped a video and an SDK for Apple Watch developers. We're going to dive deep into what Apple Watch will bring us in just a few months next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 429, recorded November 18th, 2014. All the dot ones. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Shutterstock.com, with over 43 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code MacBreak1114. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, or other Apple product is worth at Gazelle.com. And by NatureBox. NatureBox ships great tasting snacks right to your door. Start snacking smarter with wholesome, delicious treats like agave citrus granola. Oh, man! To get your complimentary NatureBox sampler, visit naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers Macintosh, Apple, $800 stock prices, all that jazz. Ihnatko is here, the Chicago Sun-Times scribbler, scribe, scrivener.
No, I'm a member of the slow news movement. This is like a Ken Burns documentary. It takes years for research to prepare, unfolds over a series of weeks, but by the time the iPhone 7 comes out, you will realize that the iPhone 6, which is no longer being sold, is in fact very much worth your time and interest.
Also here, Mr. Rene Ritchie from imore.com. Oh, he's silent.
Muted.
I
apologize. I was watching the WatchKit video while I was waiting.
Oh, good. We gave you a little extra time to watch that. We'll talk about that in a second. Hi, Rene. Actually, I have a lot of questions for Rene, including the 10.10.1.
Yeah, and 8.1.1.
Holy cow.
All the point ones, Leo.
All the point ones. And from Washington, D.C., or is it Pittsburgh, PA? I never know.
Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh, PA. Yep. That's because he's on 50% gray. Alex Lindsay of the Pixel Corps.
Where it's 14 degrees here, but it feels like -1. So I'm competing now with Rene on chilliness. I went out this morning. I had to take my kids to the bus, and I went out and figured, I'll just go out with my just with my button-up shirt on. No big deal. Yeah, I think I almost died.
When it gets to a certain temperature, my temperature is 5 degrees. Your tongue starts to hurt. And you have to keep your mouth closed.
It's when my ears start ringing. It's like this thing that happens in my ears when it gets really too cold. So
when it's -40 here Celsius, you go outside and your face just hurts, and you can feel the liquid freezing in your head.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, you win.
Okay, fine.
And the good news is
Winnipeg wins, but we're
well, Rene, I don't want to brag, but here in New England, we know enough to stay inside when it's -40.
No, that's how manly the Quebecois are. They just go out. They don't care if their face hurts. -40, it doesn't matter whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit.
I haven't experienced -40 because when it's -40, wherever I am, I just stay in the building.
You and Andy are the same.
Guess what? I'm not getting my teeth cleaned today. You can charge me for the session.
Hey, Sam Downey's here, too. We'll talk. I'm glad you're back. We'll talk to Sam a little later on the show about that. Is it National Epilepsy Week, Day, Month, Year? Month. Pick a time frame. Well, there's lots to say, but as we go to press, Andy will know what that means. As we go to press, Apple has pushed out a WatchKit SDK in video, and Mr. Rene Ritchie has been listening, as you see, or watching the video. Get your iPhone. This is at the developer's site, developer.apple.com/watchkit. Get your iPhone app ready for Apple Watch This is good news. I mean, tell us, Rene, what we've had so far and what's new in this release.
So all we've had so far is the event, the Apple iWatch event, where Tim Cook got up on stage and introduced the iWatch, and Kevin Lynch gave us a basic idea of what it does. And they promised us we'd be getting an SDK, a software development kit for developers, around November. So now it's November, and the WatchKit SDK is out, along with Xcode 6.2 and iOS 8.2 SDK, because the Apple Watch right now is dependent on the iPhone. So the way it's going to work, it looks like, is you deliver your app to the iPhone, and that pushes interface to the Apple Watch. And developers can make full interfaces, which are full apps. They can make glances, which are like widgets. And they can make actionable notifications, which is sort of like a little alert comes in and you can do something with it. That's pretty much exactly what they promised us that they would be delivering. There's a couple interesting things in there. Like, it looks like the two watch sizes are actually different resolutions. The 38 versus 42 millimeter. The 42 millimeter actually has more pixels, which plays into sort of the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus having more pixels. Yeah. So they're not just blowing it up. It's not going to be more blurry or less sharp. It's going to just have more real estate, a little bit more real estate for you.
Those larger sizes are available in all three models, or no?
Yes, there's aluminum, stainless steel, and gold, and you can get 38 and 42 millimeter in both.
Okay, so that's good. That means that is kind of like the 6 and 6 Plus of watches.
It sounds complicated at first, but when you think about it, you choose the size the same way you choose a 6 or a 6 Plus. Then you choose the finish, whether you want aluminum, stainless steel, or gold, the same way you choose
whether your wallet can afford then which one the wallet.
Yes.
They start at $350 for aluminum, so we know it's going to be a hefty price tag.
Gold is real gold, so it's going to go up. Yeah. But then you choose your strap the same way you pick a case for a phone. So like the same way you pick a blue or a red or a black case.
Is that going to be included in the price?
It's I believe it'll come with a strap. The more expensive straps will probably be more expensive. Right. There'll probably be a base strap that comes with the watch material that you choose, whether it's sport or the regular or the edition version. And this, if you watch the video, it sounds to me, there's no official confirmation, but it sounds to me like it's Jake Barron's voice. He's the frameworks evangelist at Apple.
Because that's what this is. This is an SDK, but they're really saying it's a framework. What is the difference?
Yeah, it's the same as when the original. So the SDK is just the kit. It's the collection of frameworks that developers can use to target the Apple Watch. And the frameworks are a bunch of different classes and sample code and a whole bunch of other things that developers can use to easily make apps. It's just one of the strengths of iOS in general is the quality of what they call the Cocoa Touch framework, somewhat of the Cocoa frameworks on the Mac. And those are the things that developers target, and then those frameworks go into a lot of heavy lifting for them. It means they don't have to write all the base code to do all the base functionality themselves. Apple's pre-created a bunch of it for them.
When I hear framework, I think of Ruby on Rails, which, you'd type a couple of commands and it would build kind of a base application to which you would then add your unique functionality. Is it the same here?
Sure, like UIKit. UIKit is a framework that lets you create the basic skeleton of an application on iOS, like the navigation bar and the buttons and all those things. And there's all sorts of frameworks. There's core graphics, and Metal is a framework that lets you target low-end GPU stuff. So all of those things are just a collection of code and utilities. And I'm not a developer, so I can't explain it perfectly. But it abstracts your job as a developer and makes it much easier for you to target the things Apple wants you to target.
Yeah. This reminds me a little of the Android Wear architecture. I know when you have an Android Wear Aware app on your smartphone, on your Android phone, it will automatically propagate to your watch without any intervention on your part. And then I've seen at least one app, Evernote, where if you want Android Wear capability, there's a part you have to download that doesn't show up anywhere on the phone. But once you download and install it, now you have Evernote as a note-taking app on Android Wear. So it sounds like a similar kind of system. I'm sure that once you start using it, it's very, very different. It says
and it's my understanding
here the
that
UI is stored in the Watch app itself.
Yeah, so the UI, it's my understanding that earlier this year, Apple once again refactored Springboard, which is the app launching mechanism, and they broke it up into something called Frontboard. And there's various other ones as well, like Preboard there's several of them now, not just one big monolithic structure. And I believe Frontboard might be what's running on the watch. And that would basically handle all the interface while the rest of the stuff stayed on the phone.
Yeah, so it says here in architecture, UI is stored in Watch app. Plan your UI in advance. And then code updates UI from the iPhone.
Yeah.
All right. So
all the power is in your iPhone. The connectivity is in your iPhone. This is very much the shuttlecraft to the spaceship.
And yet the watch will itself store enough code so that it draws the basic UI, and then you fill it up from the iPhone.
That's what gives you the local performance. Lets the actual application move quickly on the phone.
Of course.
The phones
That makes
around the
a lot of
watch.
sense. This is all on schedule. This is when they said they would push it out. And I
apologize if I'm not specific, but it released it literally 15 minutes before the show started.
It just came out, yeah. And we'll learn more as time goes by, yeah. I think what's kind of interesting is, and I'm not sure what the time frame is, but if you release it in November, now developers have it. I guess they've done some early work without it, knowing at least the outlines of it. But now they've actually got it. They could start working. And I would say, development, testing, and release is at least a 3 or 4 month cycle. Yes?
Yeah, well, the rumor has it that it'll come out in spring, which means March or April. So they have quite a bit of time to get ready for it.
They have just the right amount, 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the release of this in November kind of confirms that.
Yeah.
Here's a look at some of the UI elements. If you'd show this, Jason, this is kind of interesting. So you have switches, you have text controls. These are some of the controls. You have a plus and minus slider. You have date. You can display images. That's cool. If you watch this video, you'll get a much clearer sense of what the watch could look like, or what apps on the watch could look like.
It looks a lot like extensibility. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was built off a lot of the same stuff that extensibility was built off of. Like today view widgets become glances, and the interactive notifications are similar. They just project to the phone to the watch instead of the phone.
Right. Interesting. Alex, you think you'll be doing? I know you have a cadre of developers over there at Pixel Core. You think you'll be doing any Apple Watch stuff?
Absolutely. We really look at wearables, and whether it's especially with the question engine stuff that we do with Hazu, I think that we're going to definitely look at that as ways to actually take questions and queue moderators, queue folks. I mean, I think having something handheld makes a lot of sense. So as a way to integrate into some of our events, I think that we're going to use it. We also see a lot of opportunities in ways to organize production crews and stuff like that. So from a production perspective, I think there's a lot of opportunities in building stuff that is always on you. It's not conflicting with your phone, so you're getting that information while you possibly might be on your phone as well. So those are all things that we're really excited about.
Yeah. I have to say, now that I've used Android Wear for a little while, I am a little bit more come around on the idea of the utility of a watch. There are absolutely some things that having a little small second screen that's readily available.
I think the thing that you have to look at is how do you integrate your watch with your glass, with your phone, with your computer. See, that's really the
right.
Sorry.
Right. Well, and as Rene pointed out, this is a form of continuity, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the frameworks were related. It's clearly Apple's vision that you'll have multiple Apple devices: a watch, a phone, a tablet, and a computer, and that they all will be able to hand off one to the other in a kind of seamless fashion.
Well, and I think that what's partially interesting is having them hand off to one another. But what's also very interesting is the idea of them actually working in unison. So you're getting different information on different pieces around whatever you're working on.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
I'm trying to catch up. My head has been down on the screen.
Yeah, we're all watching this video kind of as we talk. Yeah.
It really is. I think that the most important step in the development of Apple Watch is still going to be Apple's launch day keynote, where they say, okay, I know that we were being kind of speculative back in September, but now we're shipping it, and here's our complete vision of what using this watch is going to be. Here's our vision of what is going to be appropriate for a watch wear, what's not going to be appropriate for watch wear. And I feel as though the first year there's going to be some growing pains. As remember how the first time that for the first year of Mac OS, when developers had to figure out, who've been training themselves for years and years and years to do text interfaces, had to sort of translate at the beginning, these text interfaces to a drop-down menu and window structure. And that really didn't work because they were still thinking in terms of text. They weren't thinking originally in terms of a graphical user interface. So I think there's going to be growing pains for the first year as people stop writing scaled down stop writing scaled down phone apps and start writing apps that are specifically and elegantly and gloriously targeted for a watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also, this Android Wear watch has not been
still
off
wearing
my
that?
wrist. Yeah, I've been wearing it like every day for about 2 months now.
Yeah, me too.
And it really is really difficult for me to not have it, especially on a travel day or on a really busy day. And I think what Android Wear does really well is that it doesn't try to usurp tasks that are more appropriate for a bigger screen. It just tries to help you keep your phone in your pocket and not have to take it out and unlock it for things that are really silly and trivial. I would love to see. So, although as a 2-month-old Android Wear user, it's a little bit alarming to see so many user interface elements and controls capable on an Apple Watch. On the other hand, I'm aware that although I love this Moto 360 and I use it several times every single day, I'm almost never using an app on the watch. It really is there to control and interact with stuff that I've got on my phone. I'm intrigued by the idea of what Apple would present as a uniquely watch-based app. Because right now my imagination is a little bit limited because whenever I really do just like try to sit back and think about if I were a developer and I wanted to write something that was not just simply there to get notifications from a phone, but to actually be an app that lives on a watch, what would I do? And anything I come up with, I'm thinking, no, that's a situation in which the user would probably be much happier just taking out their phone. So I'm really curious. I'm really keen to see what ideas other people are going to have.
I think of it like this. This is you've all, and I'm sure as you walk around Boston, you see the on the telephone pole, and then tear off the thing to get my number. I feel like this is like apartment for rent or cat lost, and then you say take a tab, and then you take that with you. I feel like the watch is like the little tab that there's a logical relationship. Watch apps I agree with you, shouldn't stand alone. You don't have enough real estate to do that.
Yeah, that was the thing that concerned me about what they showed off in September. That you're showing me how look at how much time you're going to spend actually doing this on this tiny little target. Yeah, and that's like they showed lots of features that okay, but if I'm going to be sending a text message and attaching a photo to it, my phone is in my pocket. Unless I'm holding groceries, I've got the ability to take my phone out of my pocket. So I think that even Apple, I believe that even Apple is trying to navigate their way around this problem of how do we define a watch app that is unique and distinct from a phone app, just as a phone app is unique and distinct from a desktop app.
Do you think that Apple will learn from Android Wear? Do you think they have things to learn from Android Wear?
No, I'm absolutely certain. I'm absolutely certain of it. I know that there are folks inside Apple that are Android Wear users, partly because they like it and partly because it's very informative. There are things that you can there are things that you can learn again sitting on your sofa, leaning back, and doing these Kodakin experiments. But then there are times where you really need to hold a real thing in your hand or have it on your wrist, and not in terms of that works, let's copy that, but wearing this every single day and realizing here's what bugs the hell out of me with this watch, and we definitely don't want to make those mistakes again. Or I've just downloaded 20 different apps for this Android Wear watch. There are 4 of them that I really like. There are 8 of them that have really screwed up. Let's not make those mistakes again too. Remember that when they during the expanded stuff that Apple was talking about when they launched the iPhone, one of the things they're talking about is that how inside Apple, we carry around Blackberries every single day. We carry around Palms, we carry around Windows Phone devices, and a lot of what resulted in the elegance of the iPhone was a reaction to things they did not like about the phones that they were wearing and using every single day.
I was very skeptical, as you remember, about a watch until I started wearing this Moto 360 every day.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'll tell you a couple of things I've learned, and anybody who wants to pitch into on this, a couple of things I've learned, like you, Andy, that these should be an extension of an app that's running on the phone, but also it has to look good. I had the Samsung Android Wear, and it looks bad. And design, Apple's right, design is important. But by the way, this simple Moto 360 design is sufficient. I don't feel embarrassed to wear it.
this is not something that this is not something I would have guessed had I not been wearing this like in the flesh every single day. I think that this is just a brilliant, brilliant design. And part of it is that there's almost no presence facing the user except for this screen. The bezel is tiny, 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 tiny. There's only one little control on the side here, so that really all you're looking, it's very iPhone-like in that the only thing you're actually looking at is the interface that's digital. You're not looking at physical stuff. And you're right that making this round is also a brilliant idea, not only because it really does echo the concept of a watch, but also I like yourself, I was wearing one of the early LG and one of the early Samsung watches, and they're not only are they big, but they're square, and those squares get caught up on sleeves and stuff like this, whereas this, you've got a really good chance of being able to actually put on a shirt without having to unbutton something first. So, I mean, there was
Apple may have successfully squared the circle with this, because while it is a square, it feels fairly soft and appealing.
Yeah, and also the smaller size one is very, very in line with what anybody would put on their wrist, so that's not a problem. Although I just have to though point out that right after the Apple Watch came out, there's some I don't know if this was a fanboy blog post, but it was fanboy-ish, saying that, well, here's why you make a watch. This is why you make a watch square and you don't make it round. And they decided to take the screenshots that Apple provided of the Apple Watch interface and just trace a circle around it, so you can see, oh, look how all the stuff that's cut off from the corners of that. Though. See how silly it is to make a round digital watch like this, and saying, yeah, numbnuts. That's what happens when you like take a phone and put it on top of a computer display and see how much gets cut off.
See how terrible.
You've just made the case that you can't design things for phones.
Right.
It's actually built very, very well for that round display. If anything, I think that it promotes a certain amount of restraint in user interface design, saying you only have a certain amount of real estate here and a certain amount of the user's attention. You can't squander it by saying, you know what, I think I will, rather than think for a week on how to best implement this, we'll just put a volume control here, and we'll put a brightness control here, and we'll put another thing there. So,
yeah, in fact, it's not merely Apple.
It's a fascinating time.
Not merely Apple that's going to learn from this, but people who make apps are probably learning right now with Android Wear, and I think Apple, we kind of always surmised this, but Apple's going to benefit by being late to the game by having the benefit of this.
Yeah,
well, I think
it's
Apple's
a common
benefit.
modus operandi.
Right. Yeah, Apple never is the first of anything, are they?
Not the first
Apple,
smartphone, not the first tablet, not the first watch.
Yep.
And they almost always come in, they are fashionably late.
Yes.
They don't come in super late behind everybody else, but they kind of come in. And when they come in, they make some key improvements, looking at what everyone else was doing, and they go, okay, well, we're going to shift. Generally, we're going to cut a bunch of things out. We're going to make it more efficient, or easier to use, or we're going to integrate it more with the hardware and software, and that's usually kind of how they add their value to it.
I think what you said, I'm excited. All of a sudden, I'm excited about the Apple Watch.
I think what you said earlier was really apt, that it really is about continuity and seamlessness and convenience. And I think, Apple didn't come out and say it at the event, but I think everything that they said plays towards this being convenience, that as phones get bigger, you can leave that in your purse. You can leave that in your pocket. You'll have the watch. You don't have to worry about it being available to you all the time. And then as phones get bigger, tablets can get bigger too. And you have a bigger tablet, don't worry about it. You don't have to fish it out all the time. You have it on your watch. And I think this, as much as bigger phones will allow bigger tablets to be a thing, I think the bigger phones will let the watch be a thing. It's all gonna, hopefully, it'll all be a virtuous cycle.
Will this be work with an iPad the same way it works with an iPhone? Do you have to have an iPhone for this?
We don't know yet.
Yeah. Oh, my understanding is that it's going to require an iPhone.
Okay.
But that's a really good point, Rene. Partly because we don't realize that women have problems with larger phones. Both it's difficult to manage them. It's difficult to find places to. They don't have large enough pockets. They're also worried about holding on the subway or in a public place is a really expensive thing that makes them a very flashy target. So a watch actually lets them have this sort of functionality without having to deal with all the difficulty that a 6-inch or 5.5-inch screen brings with it.
And as Ryan S. points out in our chat room, iOS developers are probably some of the best UI developers in the world. I would say absolutely are. And so I think they're probably thrilled to be getting this WatchKit now and beginning to work. And I bet you some do standalone watch apps, and maybe they'll be phenomenal because these developers are so good. And anybody who's developed, I have to think somebody like Marco Arment is just rubbing his hands with
Lauren Brichter, the Icon Factory.
Yeah, they're just going,
This is going to go on and on.
Yeah, in fact, I bet you anything that they're not watching today because they're looking at this video and they're head down in Xcode right now.
Yeah.
Well, of course, like every other Apple release, this is going to be, there's a first mover status that does generally translate into a lot of revenue because you're going to now have a whole bunch of people that buy their watch and they're just going to want to buy a bunch of things that are relatively cool that they can kind of figure out how to do it. I don't know how many people are going to make a whole bunch of watch apps, most likely, that like literally just other timepiece, looks for $1. And
that's one of the things that happened with Android Wear is watch faces became. There's a huge marketplace of watch faces now.
Yeah, right. And I'd be surprised if Omega and Rolex and et al. did not simply. We know that people are going to be trying to copy our watch faces, so we're going to beat them to it. We're going to charge just $1 for them, knowing that the people the people who can afford $1 for a Rolex watch face are probably not in the market for a $6,000 watch. but it's good brand recognition. What I wanted, I don't know if I can bring it up while I'm talking about. There's interface design is a really cool thing too. Like you talk about the very few really good watch-based apps. This is a tip calculator, which I love because they decided to figure out a way to input numbers in a really cool way.
Oh, you just move that slider around.
There's just you just roll this around, and I can't do this backwards. Yeah. But so you just move that around to.
He's more Fred Astaire than Ginger Rogers, ladies.
Yeah, exactly. So you just spin this around to set the bill amount. Then you tap this button to set what percentage of the bill you want for tips, and it's just beautiful and it's elegant and it's the sort of thing where you actually have fun calculating a tip and splitting a bill 5 or 6 ways. Yeah. And this is not an interface that I would have ever thought of when we first saw that first video that Motorola posted with that little awkward 2 people seated in chairs talking about this big round watch. I would never have figured out that that's actually a very pretty interface, but. Yeah. I'm very surprised. So that's why I say this is such an exciting time to be really into tech and to enjoy these things because we're seeing companies worth billions and billions of dollars and people who will would have to scrape and save to afford a $350 watch all on the same page, not knowing exactly how this technology should work, but everybody's trying to figure it out all together. This is such a cool time.
The only thing that makes me sad is I'm going to have to carry an iPhone. And I've become really attached to my Android phone.
I know. It's like
you can carry more than one phone.
People keep asking me, especially now that there's the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, now that they've added these improvements to iOS, are you switching back to iPhone? And a few months ago, I would have said, oh, almost likely yes. But now it's I like this so much that I'm going to wait to see what the Apple Watch is like before I make that decision.
That's an interest. You're choosing your phone based on your watch.
Well, again,
clever. This is clever.
It's also a testament to how close iOS and Android L are in functionality.
I agree.
They're still very different. They're not the same operating system. They have different strengths and weaknesses. But on a point scale, I think that iOS 8 is an A-93, and Android L, so far, my experience is that it's a A-90 or 91. It's close enough that
so close.
If there's one accessory you really, really like, you might stick with Android only because you like this one accessory that's not compatible with iOS. And the inverse would be true of the Apple Watch if it works out really well, that I would easily leap from Android to iOS if I start testing out Apple Watch apps and, oh my God, they're not satisfied with the Android Wear proposition of just making it an extension of your phone. They really want to make this really good, comprehensive destination apps that make sense for a watch. Okay, goodbye. iPhone 7, thank you.
I am watching this WatchKit video, and I think this is one thing that could be a differentiator. They're showing right now building a watch app, and they're showing an American Airlines app. And if this is one example of, and what I think is really happening is this didn't. Okay, let me step back. This didn't happen in the PC world. People who chose a Mac, I think we all did over Windows. It was not a question of A-93 versus A-91. There was a very big difference. And in some cases, you made some sacrifices because maybe the apps you wanted weren't available on the Macintosh. But there was a palpable difference. Now we're in a world where you choose the thing that matters to you most. If it's camera, you might choose an iPhone. If it's, you like one accessory versus the other, you might choose that one. And I think that's a very interesting world where now what you have to do as a buyer, as a user, is think about, well, what matters most to me? This American Airlines app could be, if you're a frequent flyer, how well the watch handles travel, boarding, getting a plane, being, getting reminded to leave the bar now or have another drink. Those things could be the differentiator. We're in a world where tiny differences are going to make a big difference in your choices.
There's another one too, I think, though, Leo. I mean, well, first, to Andy's other point, you guys, you don't need a day or a night watch now. You just need a left and a right watch, left and a right phone. Put one in each pocket, one on each side. You're fine.
I really don't want to carry two phones, but I may be.
The Harvey Dent system of technology, mobile technology.
Yes. I think the big one of the issues here, and this is what's interesting, is I think why you're seeing things like continuity and why you're seeing Android everywhere and things like material design is that once they get you in, they want to make sure the best experience is if you have everything across their system. So if you have a Mac and an iOS device and a watch, it's a better experience, and you're more likely to get the other device in that family. And if you have Android Wear and you have Android in the car and you have Android TV, you're more likely to get the next Android device. And I think that is, even though they're so close, I think as you start getting more and more involved in each ecosystem, the divide becomes bigger just for you personally.
Well, now we're getting synchronous with this video because look what it says. Advanced tips, use the handoff API. Just as we supposed at the beginning before we'd seen this whole thing, this is really a part of continuity, and it's exactly as you said. It's part of buying into an ecosystem that's across the board. 9 to 5 Mac is saying that, and maybe it'll appear later in this video, that Apple's saying if you want a standalone watch app, you're going to have to wait till later this year. That watch apps that ship initially will all have to be tethered to and come from an iPhone.
That's correct. They said that earlier, though. They announced that previously. So that's what's coming next year. Some people think in the spring. Some people think at WWDC 2015.
Yeah, and Apple never has any problems. They never have any fear about waiting things out to ship something that they can do very well today and delay other features for another year, even if competing products have those features. It will be interesting to see the difference between Android development, where Google really does give developers free rein to do anything except for destroy the world, and even then, they're willing to let them set fire to a continent if they want to be naughty. Right, but whereas yes, I know you have this great idea for an app. Yes, I know that you've built this entire system around. We're telling you we're not going to let you do that for another year or maybe 2 or maybe 3. So it's going to be interesting to see how, if people are in the store. I've got on one hand, I've got this $250 Moto 360 Mark II. On this other hand, I've got the $350 Apple Watch that doesn't do quite as much and isn't quite as mature and is 1 year behind in development. I wonder how people are going to react to that. But then again, this might be an artificial competition anyway, because if you have an Android phone, you have to get an Android Wear watch. If you have an iPhone, you have to get an Apple Watch. So this might be just the sort of stuff that provides really great fodder for podcast discussion, but won't really affect consumers in any significant way.
One other thing that everybody will pay attention to is battery life. Rene, have they said anything about, or do you know, is the Apple Watch going to protect itself against apps that will drain the battery?
Apple's gotten very good at that, or at least they've gotten good at battery shaming. Because you're not going to be running full-born apps on the watch until next year, they don't have to worry about third-party apps hitting the battery yet. But they have said that you're going to have to charge it every night. And one thing, just to Andy's point, it's hard to say that the Apple Watch hasn't been in development for as long as Android Wear, because a lot of that is internal. Apple just doesn't release early stage products. And the difference is that the Google Wear watch is going to be hit by public QA by thousands and thousands of people much earlier than the watch does, and that can make a difference in the maturity. I was
referring most to third-party development, where there's going to be especially you can actually see and use the American Airlines watch app on Moto 360. It's still hypothetical and just a demonstration on the Apple Watch. That's what I mean.
Well, gentlemen, you did a great job. We watched the entire video. We didn't have any audio, but we watched the entire video while we were talking, 30 minutes. I have to say I'm excited. There are lots of questions unanswered, but I'm very excited. Let's talk about the point ones in just a second.
Oh, Leo, we did forget to mention that Apple Pay is going to be on the Apple Watch too. So if that's a big deal to you, you're going to want Apple Watch.
Excellent point. Although I think I have to say now, after the smoke is cleared on Apple Pay, we're starting to see numbers. For instance, McDonald's saying 50% of its transactions now are Apple Pay, but that of tap to pay transactions, but that means that 50% are Android or credit card tap to pay.
Yeah.
And both the Verizon Carrier Solution soft card and Google Wallet have both said they've seen increased usage since Apple Pay came out. So I don't know what kind of differentiator Apple Pay on a watch will be. Maybe
simple awareness of tap to pay is almost negligible. Now I sort of expect that when I use tap to pay, it will come with 5 minutes of me explaining how it works to whoever was waiting in line behind me. These poor I had a tweet about my last experience saying that, oh, this poor woman, she didn't realize I have 2 hours of material on tap to pay. She probably just wanted
what
to
is
say
that?
30 seconds. Does it work? Is it safe?
Right.
And where else can you use it? And I'm saying, well, we have to go back to first. I had this thing called a Java ring. Now, this was sort of a microcontroller based ring sort of thing that was like, okay, I just want to get a burger and go away. I'm so sorry I met you now.
Whole Foods said in the first week, 150,000 people used Apple Pay at Whole Foods. So I think the awareness going up is good because, the stores, the retail, the clerks, the people will be much more prepared for you to use it. There'll be less of a barrier to you saying, I'm going to tap my phone now. Is that okay? And I think the raising awareness is going to help everybody. So I think you're right. I think anybody who buys a phone is going to ask for tap to pay. I don't know if it's going to sell more watches. Maybe. Is it really that big a difference between tapping your watch and tapping your phone? Hey, I've been wrong on this all along. So
it means you can go jogging without your phone.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I was at a hotel as usual yesterday, and I have to admit it was one of the ones that should be covering it. I just didn't know how to get my iPhone to really work with it,
right.
So I ended up using their key, which was fine, but it would have been nice. I mean, I have to admit, I would think that it was kind of cool. I don't know if I'd buy a watch because of this, but if I just tap my watch up against my hotel room, and be able to, and theoretically be able to walk right through. I mean, when you think about even as we reduce friction, I was flying last night, and the fact that I could have an electronic ticket for my United flight, I was able to go through TSA. I mean, I literally got to the front of the airport at 5:03 and was standing at the gate at 5:07, and that is a massive reduction in friction. And I think that you get used to that. And for instance, once you get used to something like TSA pre, you won't even go into the other lines. You'll walk like 6 more sections down to go to US. I don't want to take all the stuff out. And I think people get used to a lot of as we're going to see a huge reduction in friction over the next 5 years as we start to tie in the NFC and the watches and everything else, where we look back on what we had to do before. And I think, it'll seem kind of absurd.
As I said, everybody's got their little thing that they're saying right now. If it just did this, you got a sale.
If you can solve a daily or even better yet, an hourly problem for somebody, they won't care that it smells of olives. They will buy that phone and they will use it.
Well, and I think that one of the things is also separating some of the things away. Like I wouldn't mind having notifications on my watch. I turn off almost all the notifications on my phone because I'm in the middle of stuff all the time and I keep on getting interrupted. And so I'm in the middle of a call or I'm in the middle of something else and I don't want any notifications to turn on while I'm doing that, whereas I might be more open to that. So being able to split some of these things to different things, I don't necessarily want it going on all of the devices. I want it to say, I want this on this device and this on this device. And I think that is something that I think people will slowly kind of nurture and mature.
We're talking Apple, MacBreak Weekly, Andy Ihnatko, Rene, Ritchie, Alex, Lindsay, and we will talk about the point ones in just a second. But first, a word from Shutterstock.com. At Shutterstock, you're going to find the perfect image or video for your next creative project, whether it's a website, a publication, an advertisement. A lot of filmmakers use Shutterstock for stock video. If you click the footage tab at the top of the Shutterstock page, you'll see an amazing collection. Over 1 million. Now over 2 million. Why they're always adding more stuff. 2 million royalty-free stock videos. Last time I checked, there were something like 40 million photos and illustrations at Shutterstock.com. I mean, these guys. And every week they add another 250,000 to 300,000 new illustrations. Look at that. Wouldn't that be great? The next time you're making Interstellar, you could just save yourself a lot of time and money and just use some Shutterstock footage. There you go.
One of the things that even with some of the stills, one of the tricks that I've used actually in a couple of films is taking a skyline, so a Bangkok skyline or China, and you literally take the image that you get from a stock photo and you actually map it onto some very basic 3D models and push your camera through it, and you feel like you did a big, helicopter shot for, for the price of one image. And literally it takes you an hour or two to kind of set it up. And it's a great way to, so you take one of those and you put some boxes where all those buildings are, push into it. And as a viewer, especially if you're only going to see it for a couple seconds, you totally sell this shot that would have cost you $30,000 to go shoot in a helicopter.
It's just so mind-boggling. Shutterstock. And of course, when they've got 43 million high-quality photos, you might say, well, how am I going to find the one you want? Well, let me tell you, this search at Shutterstock is better than I've ever seen anywhere. You could search a drill down, not just by subject, but by color, by palette, by file type. It's not just nouns, it's adjectives, gender, emotion. You could say how many people are in it, if there's people or not, if it's an editorial image or an artistic image. They have a Lightbox gallery you can use for free, by the way. All you have to do is create a free Shutterstock account. You don't need to give them a credit card for the account. And then you can save images to a Lightbox gallery, access them anytime, share them with other team members too, which is awesome. If you've seen their iPad app, oh man, it's gorgeous. Won a Webby Award. And it's good for inspiration. Shutterstock is international too. They're in more than a dozen countries. They have multilingual customer service. And yes, full-time customer support throughout the week. I want you to try it right now. Sign up for that free account. Start using Shutterstock for brainstorming, for inspiration, to planning your next project. Save your favorite images to the Lightbox. And once you decide to purchase, we have an amazing deal for you. Use the offer code MacBreak1114, and new accounts will receive 20% off image subscription packages. 20% off with the offer code MacBreak1114. That's on new accounts on the subscription packages. What a great deal. We love Shutterstock. We use them, and I know you'll love it too. Shutterstock.com. Don't forget that offer code when you decide to buy a subscription. MacBreak1114.
We got some real-time follow-up.
Real-time follow-up, ladies and gentlemen, from Rene and Ritchie.
The watch resolutions are 272 by 340 for the 38 millimeter and 312 by 390 for the 42 millimeter.
What's the DPI? Can we calculate that?
Probably. I don't have PCalc in front of me.
DPI calculator. There's a great DPI calculator on the web. Let me enter this all in here. So on the high resolution, you said what?
So the 38 millimeter is 272 by 340.
By 340. Now, it's in inches. I'm going to have to now do how many millimeters?
38 millimeters in inches.
Convert 38 millimeters to
inches.
1.5 inches.
All right. It's 1.49606 according to the Google.
According to
all
the
right.
watch.
Let's put that in here. Your watch, you did that on your watch?
Yeah,
so
I use this for like questions, like trivia questions all the time.
That's excellent. That's 291 PPI.
Not bad.
That's excellent. Not bad. That's Retina, baby.
Yep.
Well, it depends on how long your arms are.
You know what? My new Kindle Voyage, the one we were singing its praises, 300 PPI. So 291.
That's
take
better than the iPad Air.
Yeah.
iPad Air is 264.
And what's the other resolution?
312 by 390.
And that's on the little one?
That's the 42 millimeter.
Oh crap. Now I have to do this. Okay, convert 42. That's 1.6. So let's copy that. You see, talk about real-time updates. All right, and let's see what that is. 300. That's over 300 PPI. So we're hovering around 300 dots per inch on both of these displays. That's good.
Yeah.
That's plenty. That's a lot better, isn't it, Andy, than the Android Wear stuff? I think so.
Yeah, you can definitely, if you look close enough on these watches, you can see the dots.
Yeah.
Not so much that you would be taken seriously as someone who is. It's like you can if your complaint is that, hey, if I look really, really closely, I can see the dots. It doesn't affect the clarity of the thing.
Yeah.
But that really depends on what kind of apps that Apple and Apple developers choose to build for it. If they build apps that really do take advantage of that display, I mean, having been there in the room and having been able to see those watches, yeah, I mean, it's as good as any iPhone screen, and it really is impressive. But I would rather take a drop in resolution to a drop in functionality if that turns out to be the case. So it's nice, but it's not definitive. And also good. It's also good to ask the question of what will that do to the battery life of the device.
Right, that's a lot of pixels.
Right now, this is the 360 is semi-notorious for not having a really good battery or not having a really good energy efficient CPU, and I easily get 2 days worth of use out of it. Yeah. So,
but you have to be thoughtful. For instance, and this is something people probably aren't yet ready to do, but are ready to think about. But for instance, if you put a moving second hand, a sweep second hand on your watch, it kills the battery faster than if there's no second hand because it's a screen and it has to update it.
Do you want to keep the screen lit all the time, or do you just want it to light up when you turn your wrist? That sort of stuff. So it is going to be highly subjective. Also, it's going to depend on if you have like terrible connectivity with your watch for whatever. Excuse me, with your phone and with the internet for whatever reason. That's going to. There's so many factors that Apple's going to. I believe that Apple is going to be on top of in a way that Motorola was not at the launch of their own watch.
Well, one hopes.
I'm finding 205 pixels per inch for the Moto.
Okay, 360. Well that's not bad. That's not bad. But it's,
that's fine. I mean, even Apple doesn't play the battle of the numbers. They basically say, well, what do we do with the resolution of that screen? What do we do with this, with the clock cycles of this CPU?
You know what? It has to be good enough so that when you put the Rolex watch face on it, it actually looks like a Rolex. That's all.
They haven't said you can make custom watch faces yet. We'll have to find out about that.
They may not. You can on Android Wear.
That's the sort of stuff that I'm talking about in terms of having more development time, where Google is going to be releasing the next version of the Android Wear operating system, and one of them is going to be to make it really, really easy to design custom watch face apps. Motorola released an update to this specific piece of hardware last month, or excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, that simply says we won't let you simply design anything willy-nilly, but we'll let you put whatever. This did not ship with a squirrel watch face. This is a photo that I actually put on there. And you can change the watch hands and stuff like that. And there's so many questions that we're still trying to answer on what people like about this. And one of the things that I think is going to be significant is the idea that, like, I think one of the things that Motorola got very much right is that there is, like I said before, there is nothing to this hardware except for just the thinnest bezel possible to highlight the screen. And so I wish that it had swappable bands as easily as the Apple Watch does, but if it made it as easy to swap out watch faces to my liking on a whim as it is to switch out watch bands on the Apple Watch, well, that's not a bad trade-off either. So I wonder what people are going to like about customizing these things, and whether they're going to the idea that they're putting the same watch on to go to a family wedding as they wore just for a weekend with friends, but they feel as though, you know what, I shouldn't have the squirrel watch face on for the wedding. I should put on the Rolex watch face. Just to make sure my parents know that I've made it.
Well, an Apple with a snap-on and off band really does foster that. I mean, I think you could be very happy with the steel watch. I hope I could be very happy with a steel watch and a couple of good bands, one for daily use, one for weddings.
I got to tell you.
In my case, it's not weddings, it's funerals, but, same idea.
Yeah, I am terrified of what the pricing is going to be on these other two. They said the minimum buy-in is going to be $350. That's acceptable, especially for an Apple product, but I am terrified when they show off what's going to cost to have the stainless steel version of it, and I'm prepared to just say, it may as well be $10 million what you're going to charge for the gold one, because you're marketing to people that
out of my league, baby.
It's like, okay, let's get good and liquored up for that show. We know they're going to announce the price list sometime during when we record. Because okay, I got 3 Guinnesses in me. I'm ready.
You have people like my friend Kevin Mitchelluk, who he gets more excited the higher he thinks the price is going to be. At 10 grand, he's interested. At 20 grand, he's really interested.
He's one of those guys. He's a watch guy.
Let's put it this way: I am contacting my relatives to find out how much did Grandma and Grandpa pay for their first house, because I feel like I'm going to need that dollar figure when I write my commentary.
That's
on how
your
much
limit.
The gold one costs.
I know. I've spent a couple of cases a lot of money for watches, not Rolex money, but pretty hefty sum, painful sum, and I know they were a ripoff. It was a ripoff. It's jewelry, it's status. It doesn't, And I guess that softened me up, but I like you, Andy. I'm a little worried because.
Let me tell you the story of a young teenage boy who was a goat herder in the hills of the Italian Alps, who came here with only a dream and $28 in his pocket. Amazed that he could provide a home for himself and his small family.
And really, let's
imagine me
admit
meeting this young boy.
Spending a lot of money on a watch is absolutely the worst kind of conspicuous consumption. Because a $5 watch is exactly as good as a $50,000 watch.
That's like saying a Toyota is as good as a Lamborghini, Leo.
No, it's not. Time is time. It doesn't tell the time faster. It doesn't time the time better. In fact, probably it's less accurate than the $5 watch.
I mean, I think it's going to be hard to tell the difference between the decide between the aluminum and the stainless steel and the gold. I mean, but there are reasons that you buy different watches. I mean,
the only reason you buy the gold is to show you have so much money you don't care.
You're right. The gold one is ostentatious. I couldn't be seen in that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the buying decision between, do I want the stainless steel watch or do I want the aluminum watch and 4 months worth of heating oil this winter?
Yeah.
Well, my thing is that I want to know when I get the rubberized G-Shock watch. Like that's what I want. It's like a rubberized one.
That'll be perfect. The single most brilliant use of this will be to buy the gold watch, but also to like kickstart like a rubber G-Shock like carrying case for it.
That will only work on the gold watch. This is just for the gold watch.
This is a life-proof case.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, our friend Kevin Rose, who is a watch hound, has created a new watch app called Watchville. An app that aggregates news from top wristwatch blogs and offers an atomic clock tool to help you set your timepiece and its moon phases. And look who already has it.
You see, that's just a bad marketing decision, because the people who are using their phones to get their time anyway aren't going to be buying watches, are they? I'm sorry. This is the worst pitch we've had on Shark Tank in 100 episodes.
Set your watch.
I'm out. That's the punchline to the joke. After you spend 10 minutes explaining how this $8,000 watch, what the different gears and dials and all the different movements are. Well, what time is it? It's
actually, Kevin tells an interesting story. He says when his father passed away, which wasn't so long ago, that was just a few years ago. He says, I wasn't a watch guy, and my dad died, and he handed me down a Rolex. And he said it was pretty much all he could afford, so he spent a lot of time and care on it. That is one big difference. A high-quality watch, and we've mentioned this before, is an heirloom, not a high-quality Apple Watch.
I have my grandfather's watch, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It was my dad's watch, so.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I've been meaning to say, if you can afford a really expensive watch and you can enjoy a really expensive watch, I absolutely am not judging you. I will have some fun at the expense of what might be the most expensive thing Apple has ever sold, and it doesn't even have a USB port on it. I will not diss somebody for having a love. I have friends who have like really, really nice watches, and you could tell that this was not something that they bought just because they saw it in an ad in a cigar magazine and they wanted to look like the guy in the magazine ad. They have an actual love of this sort of stuff. So I'm not in any way denigrating that.
I have to think. I make a little judgment in my mind when I see
all he wanted was a plot of land. But maybe he could grow some tomatoes in the back, raise his 2 children, and teach them to be good Americans.
I'm torn between, disregard and intense jealousy.
There's jealousy too. I'm not denying the jealousy.
I want that Rolex that but at the same time I can't. It's just having a $50,000 thing on your wrist. It's like, what?
Yeah, and these are again. I have friends with these nice watches, and they've let me wear them like for a day. When I bought this watch, and I was trying to figure out if I really wanted to have this. This was a big watch compared to what I was wearing before. And so why don't you wear, I've got a watch that's exactly that same size. Why don't you wear that for a day? And it really is just a beautiful, the weight of it. You really do appreciate that this is a really nicely made mechanical object. It is like love of cars. It really is like love of sculpture. Yeah. There's just an appreciation of it that goes beyond its immediate function.
Well, and it is an heirloom. I mean, you can hand down a lovely timepiece,
and you can get it fixed. And 30 years from now, you can get it fixed. That was my dad's birthday present one year, where he broke it and it was in a drawer for about 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, 8 years. Yeah. And I had my mom sneak it out, and I took it to 3 different watchmakers who rebuilt it, and it was working fine again. I'm not sure if I'm hoping that there'll be people the 2081 version of Ben Heck will have a watch repair shop who will say, I think I can make this smaller.
Yeah. Will the Apple Watch hold its value?
Nah.
No, it'll be the same as any electronic.
Over decades, no. It will have resale value in the same way that old iPads are brilliant because you can get at least half of your money back from them whenever you decide to upgrade. So they'll definitely be that. But in terms of I spent X thousands of dollars for this gold watch, there'll be some point, unless Apple has designed it specifically so that you can replace the innards and upgrade the electronics for like 5 or 10 years. There'll be a point at which there's be a company that you mail this gold Apple Watch to, and they will give you a fair market value for the gold that's inside that watch, and
so sad.
Send you back your peel-off screen protector that you paid 80 cents for.
We will have. I'll tell you what. When we do get to that day when we're going to announce the prices and availability on the Apple Watch, we will have Rich Siegel join us from Barebones Software, the creator of BB Edit, who is in fact a watch hound. We should also have Dave Nanian of who does Super Duper. Okay.
Because he is also a watch collector, and he has you go to his house and you see like it's sort of like Willy Wonka's dresser top, because there are these machines that do nothing but tumble these self-winding watches. And even the automatic watch winders are really well designed and really well made, and the
oh Lord.
My respect for people who have an appreciation for fine watches comes from my friendship with both of these men.
I don't know how much disposable income I'd have to have before I would get into that, but I think it would be a significant amount. Huh? First thing I'm going to do is going to buy Rene a good Skype connection. Actually, we're now on Hangouts, and it's still not working.
Now, I think that new oil pipeline between Canada and the United States, I think on the way up there, we can just shove some internet in there.
Put some bits in there, because it'll be empty going back.
Exactly. Why waste it? They got to maintain the pressure somehow. We can fill it with electrons.
I really, I have to really be careful because I could just feel myself sucked into the watch vortex.
Yeah, I know, because the saving grace is that I'll be wearing one of these things for the days. Well, this is really nice. Maybe I would like it. And then, well, how much is that? Like, maybe not. It's like if it were a $500 watch, then I would have a problem. If it were a $2,000 watch, that's easy. No. Ooh. I don't want to double the value of my car by being inside it with this watch. That's all I'm saying.
But I think it's going to be really interesting when you look at whether it's this is the beginning of these watches. Of course, what's going to happen is we're going to end up with a lot of much less expensive Android watches that are doing many things. And it's interesting to think about watch manufacturers. I mean, I look at the watch that I have now, this Citizen, and I look at it and I go, oh, this is so cute, but
I love
I'm only going to wear it for another year. Yeah. like as soon as it's released, as soon as I put the Apple Watch on, I've had the same watch or the same style of watch for probably over a decade. But I look at it, I keep on looking at it like, I really, really thought you were great. It's not like you were a bad girlfriend, but
yeah, that's Alex. That's exactly it. Because I love this watch, I still do, but it doesn't do the cool stuff that this does. That really makes my life easier. I know, you're just, and I kind of this is why I have not put this away. It's like, maybe like I should tell myself that maybe I will wear this on the weekends, or maybe at least the weekends. I know, I'm not
like that's like my deck. I feel like I'm going to keep my Citizen around just so that when I decide I'm going to go off the grid for a weekend or a day or whatever, I'm going to take the watch off. I'm going to put the Citizen on, and that's like me telling myself that still spending some time again with the old girlfriends. Just say it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was just that she was just.
You walk past your middle school playground, and if no one's looking, you just want to jump on the springy horse just for once or twice, just to relive the old thrills, and then you jump.
I'm leaving the phone behind. I'm going to leave the phone behind. I'm going to put the watch down, and I'm just going to hang out on the beach. I think someday I'll do that. I haven't done that in a long time, but someday I can dream.
And the cat's in the cradle in the silver spoon.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to buy this expensive watch, and as I walk out the door, I'm having a heart attack, and Henry's going to inherit it like instantly. So how would you like to maybe get some money to buy that next watch? I got an idea for you. Gazelle.com. Start selling your gadgets now, and maybe by the time the Apple Watch comes out, you'll have enough money. What's great about Gazelle.com is you can go there right now and get a 30-day quote, a quote that's good for the next 30 days. If you think you might want to do it, do it. That way you'll have the quote. There's no commitment. I can guarantee you no device is going up in value We're talking about iPhones, iPads, cell phones from BlackBerry and Samsung, all the manufacturers, LG, HTC, Motorola, Nokia. We're talking tablets from Amazon, Asus, Google, Microsoft, Samsung, as well as Apple. Great prices, and they make it very easy. So you'll get the quote. 30 days gives you enough time to get the new device, transfer the data over, wipe the old device, then say, okay, I'm ready to sell it, and they'll send you a box with prepaid shipping. You don't pay any shipping on this. Pile all those gadgets in. They turn it around fast. If you forget to wipe the data, what? $410 for an iPhone 6? Well, there you go. I'm not selling my iPhone. That would be an O. Henry story. He sold his iPhone 6 to buy an Apple Watch. Then he couldn't use it. Don't sell. You need your iPhone, okay? I'm just saying. You can get a check, a PayPal credit if you're in a hurry, or if you are an Amazon buyer, you do a lot of Amazon shopping as I do, get the Amazon gift card. They'll bump the value an extra 5%. Go to Gazelle.com, get an offer for your iPhone or iPad, and lock in today's price for 30 days. They even buy broken iPhones and iPads. Gazelle.com. They've paid out nearly $170 million to over 1 million customers. And it's easy, and we've certainly used it a lot. In fact, I think maybe I have been saving up for my Apple Watch, but instead of saving cash, I just save old cell phones. And I'm going to cash them in on Gazelle.com. But do it now because it's not getting more valuable. Gazelle.com. All right, should we upgrade? We got two upgrades. We've got Yosemite, OS 10, 10.10.1, and we've got iOS 8.1.1. Let's start with Yosemite. Biggest problem on Yosemite has been Wi-Fi. I have not experienced that, but there seem to be widespread Wi-Fi issues. And now, even though 10.1.1 just came, 10.10.1 just came out, people are already saying, "Oh, it doesn't necessarily fix the Wi-Fi." What are you hearing, Rene?
So every time there's an update, it will cause Wi-Fi problems for some people. I come to realize that this is just a truth of the universe, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. But for people who had this specific bug with Yosemite where it would change the network or drop the network, it does fix that bug. There might be other bugs that people have or other issues that they have, but the main issue with Yosemite is fixed with 10.10.1.
And what was Evan Katz's fix if you would
disable the administrator, enable the administrator change for Wi-Fi networks?
And if you enable the administrator page, that's it? Or do you have to?
This fixes that, as far as I know. Like I on any system that we had trouble with, this has so far fixed that.
All right. There's an article on iMore that explains how to do it. It's not hard.
No.
But I don't know how to do it, or I would show you.
It also fixes, at least for me and several other people, it fixed that really annoying error where Bonjour put multiple versions of your computer up. So you would have like MacBook Pro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 100 sometimes. I think Rich Siegel tweeted that he had 2,073 Apple TVs at one point. So that I don't know if the Apple TV version is fixed, but the version for Macs is definitely fixed.
Wait a minute. Say that again. He had what?
He had 2,073 bathroom Apple TVs listed on Twitter.
He actually counted them?
And he said, well, no, it was just because it puts the number in brackets next to them, and it was just adding, instead of replacing it with the new, we just kept adding to the list.
That seems to be a problem.
But
he said nobody has that many bathrooms.
Let's not gloss over the fact that Rich Siegel has an Apple TV in his bathroom. That man.
I was trying to gloss over.
That's boss. Okay.
Yeah, so the Apple TV part, I don't think it's fixed, but the Mac version is fixed.
Okay.
All over the world, listeners are saying, "Honey, maybe we should get an Apple TV for our bathroom."
So let me ask a question about this Wi-Fi thing, because I have many Macs, and I have not seen it. Do we know why some people have this problem and some don't?
No, but it happens every update. I have never had a Wi-Fi issue, but I know people who have it almost consistently, and it doesn't seem
weird.
Yeah, it seems like there's just so many millions of devices that some, 2-3%, which is a lot of people, will get these issues every time.
Yeah. God, you'd think it'd be somehow reproducible.
Yeah, that's why I think it happens every time, is that it's always some sort of edge case.
Yeah.
In some stack somewhere.
Why does Apple seems to have more trouble with Wi-Fi than any other company, though? Is that not true?
I was having the same problem with iOS 8 on a lot of my devices that weren't being reproduced on iOS 7 or iOS 6 or any of my Android or other devices. And this is like remember a couple months ago when we were talking about the quote bending problem on the iPhone 6. If we hear a dozen well-publicized cases, then these are just random things that, well, once you put a million of these in people's hands, things are going to happen. Even if it's just 2 or 3% of the people, if enough of these people are now having these problems, now this is a serious issue because it's only okay if you're part of the 97%, and you're probably everybody wins that bad lottery at some point in life.
Well, and I think that I don't know if it's any worse on a Mac. I think sometimes there's just so many problems on a PC side that you just don't notice.
And anything with networking, I'm willing to be so forgiving. Not that I enjoy not having Wi-Fi, but I can't really say, with the MagSafe connector, I can say, okay, did you even try plugging this in and sitting with this MacBook on a sofa? I will be that arrogant when it comes to the MagSafe 2 connector. When it comes to networking, it's like there's so many variables.
Yeah.
You cannot test for all of them. The only thing you can do is at some point think that, okay, I've been diligent as possible in making this work, and the last step is to release it and then find out who's getting failures.
Alex, you've always said don't download the new operating system. Don't download the first update to the new operating system. Wait and download it all when they update the update.
And that's and that's what we're doing. I mean, we still have computers that are kind of in the last 3 versions. We're still not taking some of the machines out. The current machine that I'm on right now is a 10.8.6, and that is because my Cisco camera stopped working on Skype and Hangouts on Mavericks and Yosemite, and so we still have a couple machines that are on the older one. We've got some on Mavericks that we're still working with, and then we're moving some to Yosemite. I think we're going to move almost everything now to Yosemite that is in Mavericks. We're going to keep our 10.8.6 computers around because there's still a couple pieces of hardware that don't work on Mavericks and Yosemite. So we'll have a handful of machines that can do that, and then otherwise, I think we're about ready to because Mavericks just is crap. So it was the entire time.
It's that bad?
It's just from an audio-visual perspective, from the whole thing had never really worked, which is why we tested here and there and not move it. Yosemite's an improvement, I think, over Mavericks. Mavericks we pretty much skipped, other than a handful of computers. I really feel like I think this yearly update thing is really not a good idea for Apple. I think that I get that it's free and everything else, but I feel like we're packing a bunch of features in and we're not going back and cleaning everything up. And I think they try to. Don't they do that though?
Don't they alternate stability releases with new feature releases?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Yeah,
no. A lot of people think they need a snow leopard moment.
They need a snow leopard moment. I thought this would be our snow leopard moment.
It's not. Well, they added a lot of things. I mean, they added a lot of things to Yosemite, and I think that there's a little bit of one-upmanship going on there. I think they need to stop. I'd be quite happy for them to stay in Yosemite for the next 2 or 3 years and just work on stability. We're just going to keep on doing dot ones. I don't think they need to add anything. I don't really need my operating system to change that much. I just need it to get better. And 10.8.6, in my opinion, was the last fully stable operating system.
Yeah.
Well, Bertrand Serlet hard sold Snow Leopard to Apple. I mean, he had to campaign to get that done, and he did.
Really?
And we'll have to see if someone else does that. Yeah.
The idea that let's just tread water for a bit and really make sure this is rock solid. Make an update that's just solid. So, Microsoft kind of does that. Windows 7 was a response to Vista. I don't know when, and Windows 8 is like a big change, but Windows 10
Windows 9, no bugs. Windows 9 will have 0 bugs.
Yeah, 10, it's going to be 10. They skipped 9.
Sorry, I was kidding.
That's why 9 will have no bugs. I get it. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. So our advice to people using Yosemite is upgrade or not?
Yes. Yeah. This is Alex's, this is the bug fix of the bug fix. So this is...
Right, exactly.
And it could screw you up with Wi-Fi.
It'll fix you're more. If you had a problem, it'll most likely fix it. I haven't heard of that many new problems compared to the old problem.
And it's not going to, if you don't have a problem, it's not going to give you a problem.
There's a statistic chance every time, Leo. I mean, you're always taking a little bit of your life in your hands with any update.
I just wanted to put out the disclaimer. We make no promises.
But I would say that 8.1.1 is a really good upgrade. If you've been waiting on iOS 8, this one if you have an iPad, this will give you back up half a gig or a gig of storage capacity on it. That's awesome. The performance is great. It's better for the 4S. It's better for the iPad too. It's better for all of them in general. It feels very polished, very stable. There's this old joke that you get the release and you get the hurry up, patch all this broken release, and then you get the fix release. And this really feels like the fix release.
So get 8.1.1 as well.
Yes.
Okay, so there's our advice. Do upgrade in both cases.
Yeah.
Yes. Because both of these are fixes to the update.
And it's not the panic fix, because you always get the panic fix a week or two out when something really badly is broken. There's no time to do, you just have to, that's like all the red list items. Now this is the more proper fix.
And that's the part where people like me go, oh, that was funny. You upgraded immediately. That was. Yeah, exactly. And then
you install 8.0.1, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, good. All right, so everybody should do your updates, and they've already seeded 8.2.
The SDK, I don't know if the beta is out yet. I know for sure the SDK is out, because 8.2 is going to enable the watch, so that probably won't come out until spring of next year either.
Okay, so we're going to be on 8.1 for a while.
Yeah.
Settle in, folks. Interesting article. Actually, it wasn't an article. It was a post about memory efficiency on Quora. Glenn Williams answered a question which a lot of people have. How come the iPhone's gigabyte of RAM is touted to be able to compete with 2 or in some cases 3 gigabytes of RAM on Android phones? And
Java.
It's Java. It's not even Java. It's the garbage collection. Now, I understand and know how garbage collection works, and I'm not sure I agree with this or disagree with it. He offers some graphs generated to show that because of garbage collection, you want double or more the footprint in Android because of the way it handles memory than you do on iOS. And I think this is one thing that even whether you're a sophisticated programmer and understand the differences or not, it's observable that both iOS and Windows Phone operate well with much less RAM than Android does. And I even tell people with Android, get 3 gigs if you can. It'll make a big difference.
Yeah.
It is ironic, though, because it's Apple that's pushing for 64-bit processors. And as far as I'm concerned, the only value to 64-bit processors is more RAM.
It gave them the secure pipeline that let them do Touch ID and Apple Pay, though. That was part of the big move to 64-bit.
It's a secure kernel.
Yeah. Well, the secure enclave and now the secure element.
And you had to go 64-bit to do that?
It's got the ARM V8 had a lot of stuff built in. Again, I don't know the details of the engineering.
It wasn't about the bitage. It was about the ARM platform.
It was ARM V8 all the way. Absolutely. Yeah. The 64-bit was a nice side effect to that. Nice little nose tweak.
I'm sure the Android aficionados will have something to say about this post, but it kind of makes sense.
It really
Apple
with this.
tried it, though.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
What did you say, Rene?
I think Apple tried garbage collection Objective-C for a very short time and then quickly got rid of it in favor of the auto release, the ARC.
Right. Its system is a numeration, right?
Yeah.
So increments and then decrements. Garbage collection has to sweep through it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say with 64-bit, the more I think about it, and the more that I look at things that are internal to these devices and to iOS, and the more I talk to people, the more I think that Apple really is lining up planes on the runway for something really big for iPad in 2015.
I would make the argument that they would do better with more RAM. Safari has to refresh its tabs all the time.
The iPad Air 2 has 2 gigabytes, Leo. That's preparing for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 gigabytes.
Yeah, but that does point to there's so many differences between iOS and Android that go to such smart engineering behind the scenes that Apple has done. Garbage collection is one of them, but battery conservation is another. It's like I spend so much time evaluating Android tablets and Android phones, and I'll have charged up the iPhone 5S so that I can compare it to the iPhone 6, and then I'll just use it for a couple of days, and then I'll put it in a drawer, and then I need to, did I get that picture off the iPhone 5S? Well, make sure I find the charger, and I haven't used it for 3 weeks, and it's still at 92%, whereas an Android phone can barely stay alive for 2 days of inactivity. It's just amazing. When you write the book on why iOS is that half-letter grade maybe better than Android. A lot of it is just that they've just done such smart things to keep the power on, to keep the water clean, and to keep the earth from moving underneath people's feet.
I haven't charged my iPhone 6 Plus since yesterday morning. I'm at 33%.
Yeah. Actually, that's
I'm looking.
One of the things Glenn also says it's kind of Jermaine, is that not only does garbage collection inefficient with memory usage, it requires more power. So Android phones are using more power to do the garbage collection than iPhones have to.
I don't know if you guys saw it at CES, but they had an Android in the car. I think it was running Gingerbread still, but the guy had to tell you that it could only be in standby mode for 7 days or it would drain the car battery, and then you had to power it off. But when you power it off, it would take 3 minutes to power on again.
Right.
I just downloaded and installed Android L.
Lollipop.
And one of the new features is battery shaming. And it's like battery shocking, because you see, you're telling me that off of a full charge at 1 p.m. and you think this is going to be dead 1.5 hours from now? Do you think 5 hours of battery life is acceptable, Mr. Battery Manager? Yeah. And they're really excited about, we'll get you probably 90 minutes of additional battery life. Say, will you just look at what the iPhone is doing? Why can't you be more like the iPhone? Making me carry a battery charger if I'm leaving the house for more than 8 hours.
Well, you could get a Note 4 and then just carry an extra battery and just swap it in. Why I haven't noticed. Is iPhone 6 and 6 Plus much better battery life?
6 Plus, for sure.
6 Plus, yeah. Well,
the 6 Plus is. I mean, that's the one. I mean, I'm giving it up soon, but it is the one thing about it is I just can't believe how long the battery lasts.
Yeah.
So you don't need a Mophie anymore.
No, I don't know how, if you fit it. If you put a Mophie on it, it would no longer be a 6 Plus. It would be a small truck.
I think that most people have a Mophie or a battery extender not to get like a whole weekend of life out of it, but to make sure that no matter what, they'll get a full day. And my goodness, you have to basically crack open an iPhone 6 Plus and short the battery terminals not to get a full day's worth of use out of it. I mean, you really are talking in general use life of days. So much so that I almost have to like keep a note of when was the last time this was charged, just to make sure I appreciate how good this battery is. You compare this to like the supersized phones and Android, where the big plus of having that extra size and having the extra battery in there is that you almost get a full day and a half, probably, or maybe 2 days if you don't use it that much. Whereas with the iPhone 6 Plus, it really is just it's only bad in that you might even break yourself of the habit of automatically putting it in the charger every single night, because if you forget a night, it's no problem. You'll probably still have another full day. If you forget that second night, you'll probably have enough to get you to the office where you'll be able to plug in. Whereas with Android, you're like, thank God this has such crappy battery life, because I will never, ever, ever go to bed without plugging this into the charger before I fall asleep.
I did Singleton and the iPad event without a charge. Like I had my Mophie Station Duo that I always carry with me. I never had to take it out. It was almost a religious experience.
Well, the iPhone 6 seems to be outselling the 6 Plus.
Indeed, they had enough electricity for only one night, and yet the screen of the iPhone 6 Plus burned for 7 nights.
I now light it once. Yeah, never mind.
In 2,000 years, we're going to be telling this story to Seder. The iPhone 6 outsold the iPhone 6 Plus by 3-1. Now, Apple's not saying this. This is a report from Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. Credible? We don't really know how the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus relative sales have been.
Leger, the T-Mobile said it was 50-50, but someone else said 3-1 as well, so it's probably not far off.
Yeah. That means that merely that Apple fans don't want to make that big jump from a 4-inch phone to a 5.5-inch phone. That's a big jump.
It's also availability. We don't know how many 6 Pluses they'd sell if they could get. I mean, I know people who are still waiting, who still haven't got from launch day, have still not got their phone off certain carriers.
Right.
And I know a lot of people that went to buy a 6 Plus and ended up buying a 6 because they wanted to walk away with the phone, and the 6 Plus wasn't available. And again, I looking back now, I'm probably gonna go to the 6. I think the 6 makes a lot more sense.
It's so elegant. It could change when you start seeing a lot of apps take advantage of the extra real estate on the 6 Plus. But right now, everything's just big.
I feel like I need to either get another phone or get a whole new wardrobe, because the 6 Plus just doesn't fit.
I like big
many
phones.
of my pockets.
I'm waiting for
tactical pants, Alex. Tactical
pants is the solution. Yeah.
I've actually been. I was gonna send Scott an email about me designing my own shirt, so that it fits the 6 Plus and it's got a whole thing, and
again I say 511technical.com. Get the Tac Light Pro pants. I was on stage at the Mac Tech conference last week. I needed to have my hands free, so where did I put my iPad Air 2?
Where?
In the back pocket of my pants. It fit easily, and when I
All right.
Where's
like
the hero
they-
shot of that?
Get your picks ready, ladies and gentlemen, because we are about to go to our picks. But first, it's snack time. And Andy, I'm just going to tempt you.
So Lisa sent some of these up to our office to 205 to have a couple of them, and now we've been like little rats. We come down and grab a couple here and there.
Oh, now I know where our NatureBox is going. Aha!
Those are so good. We've only
really
taken. Like I was like, oh well, we'll see how this turns out, and they are so addicting.
What is in? Andy asks, what is in these Big Island pineapple rings that makes them so delicious? Well, as everything with NatureBox, nutritionist approved, minimum in ingredients, no high fructose corn syrup, no trans fats, no artificial colors or flavors. In fact, if you look at the ingredient list on Big Island pineapple rings, what's inside? Pineapple. That's all. They're so. What is it that they do to these, Andy? They're so good.
Is pineapple the trade name of some artificial sweetenizer stabilizer from Monsanto or something?
You know what it is? You start with the best pineapples, and you don't dry them fast. You dry them slow. You don't use sulfites. You just make delicious.
And the thing is, then you look at the ingredients, and it's all things that you can pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's which I find.
They're famous for their short ingredient lists. All right, here's the deal. I say, eating pineapple. Go to naturebox.com/twit. This is what is this? It's snacks delivered monthly to your door. Yeah, you can get the surprise snack, or you can pick a special snack, or and by the way, this is what you're going to get in the free trial. Right now, this changes sometimes. The sea salt sun crunch, the cranberry medley, the coconut cashew. Oh, those coconut cashews! I love those. And the jalapeno cashews, and then a surprise snack. These are so good. So, try it right now. You only pay $2 for the shipping. It's at naturebox.com/twit. And then you can get these delivered monthly to your door. And you will love them. Great for the kids, great for the whole family, and much better than going to that, candy bar machine in the middle of the day when you just need a little something. What's nice is these are all resealable bags, so you can just have a single pineapple ring, zip it back up, and it's nice, stays nice and fresh for the next time. naturebox.com/twit. I shouldn't have to beg. Just do it, and then that way, maybe Pixel Core will come over to your house next time.
They're in Canada now too, Leo.
Are they?
Yep. They're so good. I brought some to a party last week or the week before, and everyone was used to getting those old weird green or orange stuff that's been on convenience store shelves for years. And I put this out, and you could actually see the heavenly light in their eyes light up when they looked at it. It was amazing. Yeah.
NatureBox! Strawberry Greek yogurt pretzels, mango orange fruit chews. All right.
Leo, I had some transmission issues. It almost sounded, when you're talking about the packaging, it's almost as if you said something about an unused portion of it you can seal back in.
I'm always very good. I will take one blueberry nom nom, and I'll save the rest for later.
I try. I go, oh, then I'll have maybe one more.
I know.
Yeah, I finished those pineapple slices before I finished my leftover Halloween candy.
I know.
That was...
Those are truly remarkable, I have to agree.
It's a pretty good.
Amazing. All right, let's get to our picks of the week. Why don't you kick it off, Mr. Andy Ihnatko?
My choice is this really cool game called Space Age. That is, let me activate Crane Cam 3000, the future of video podcasting here, which is. It is very familiar to people of a certain age because it's a lot like stupid.
No, it's good. Leave it that way. That's how we want it. It's upside down for you, but it's right side up for us.
No, I'm saying I wanted to put it right side up, and then it screwed up the other way, but now it's working fine. But yeah, it'll be very, very familiar to people who grew up playing these Sierra Online games because your basic 8-bit move your guy around a place, but. I can't remember another game I've ever played where I just did not play it for the first 10 minutes because I was just listening to the music. Let me just, I don't know if you can.
We do hear it. It sounds good.
And that's not even like the main triumphant theme song of it. It's just such beautiful music. It's actually written by Cable Sasser that you know from when we're talking about apps with great user interfaces. So he's a developer, but he also is a really, really good, really, really nice composer. And actually, let me see if I can get it into iTunes. And but it's I guess I'll tap to continue so you can see some of what this actually does. So you actually are just like walking people through a terrain. It tells a story that's many, many chapters long. It's exactly the sort of game that I like because I don't like these fast twitch muscle sort of things. I don't like having to spend weeks and weeks learning how to use a digital sword and then mastering this new tool that I can then use nowhere else except for inside this one game. It's just pleasant. You can pause it. You can pick it up from elsewhere. And it's just such a pleasant experience start to finish. Another cool thing about it, I will say in passing, is that in part of its setup options is that you can actually set it up so that if you have a certain kind of red color blindness or green color blindness, it will actually let you adjust the colors of the display so that you can actually use this a lot better. So it's I think it's what is it, about $5? Unfortunately, it's I'm trying to find out, but it's I remember there's another one of those apps that had me thinking. $3.99. There you go. Yep. Thank God it's not free. Thank God it's not 99 cents. They're actually charging an amount of money that's realistic for the amount of work that they've done in this thing. And the only thing stopping me from buying the soundtrack is just that I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil the ending of the story because there are spoilers inside the track listings. This is like the soundtrack to Star Wars Episode 1 all over again. So high recommendation. I'm only on chapter 2, but all the time I spend in here is just a really good fun time. I don't feel stupid for playing it either. That's all I ask when I play a game. I just don't want to feel stupid for playing this game. That's all.
All right. $3.99. And do you tap to make people move around? How does that work?
Yeah, it is very much like a Sierra Online game. You tap to move people around the landscape. You encounter other people. You encounter new mysteries that, again, I'm only on chapter 2, but I'm guessing that you're going to be called upon to solve as you make your way through the game. It's the sort of game that's really right up my alley. I play games to have a calming influence and a calming effect. I don't play games to say, okay, back to work now. So, mission accomplished.
Thank you, Andy. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to Rene Ritchie from Montreal and imore.com for his pick of the day.
I'm first going to just second Andy. Space Age is terrific. Nevin Mergen and Matt Comey. Nevin is a designer at Panic, and I played it since the beta. It is just, if you want a great time, just get that game and don't even think twice about it. Yeah. It's utterly fantastic. Because I was going to actually pick Space Age, but because Andy got to the document before me.
I hate it when that happens.
But I was in luck because another great app launched right just before the show, and it's called Vellum. And it's an ebook production app. iBooks Author is great, but it's iBooks only. It's iPad and Mac only. What Vellum does is it wants to take all the heavy lifting out of you making books that are cross-platform, so for iBooks and for the Amazon Kindle. And Serenity Caldwell, who previously did all the books for Macworld and is now doing a bunch of books for iMore, she took a look at it and she just loved it. And I can't think of a higher recommendation for an ebook app than that. It's in the Mac App for now. It's free to try. If you want to generate books, you have to pay them something, but it's one of those things where it's more than worthwhile, especially if you're going to make a lot of books, to pony up for a license. It's on sale 50% off right now. I think you can get an unlimited license for $150, which is a steal when you see. If you ever had a chance to watch Serenity's Singleton talk, where she explained the excruciating process of making cross-platform books, that is money so well spent, because this got her almost all the way there almost immediately. So if you're into making ebooks, and if you want to have them on iBooks and you want to have them on Kindle, I can't recommend Vellum enough. It's just, the new version is just terrific.
Mr. Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week.
So for the tip on this one, I want to thank Aaron Coe, who I think actually sent a couple of us the link, and I bit. My next tip, and I don't have it sitting in front of me because I didn't put it in my bag, but I was playing with it all, for the last couple of days, is the Shoulderpod. So the Shoulderpod is this is a very solid mount for your iPhone, and it does work with an iPhone 6 Plus, which I tested. So what it really does is it gives you a 1/4-20 mount. So of course you can put it on a tripod. It's got a little handle, which at first I thought was really silly until I started playing with it. And if you want to hold your phone and have kind of one-handed operation with your thumb to start recording and stop recording or take photos, it actually works really well. But really, one of the great things about it is
it's got a slider.
We put it on a slider. Well, the big thing is that it finally gives you a really solid. I mean, there's a lot of little mounts that I've played with. I think nearly every one of the mounts out there, and ones that have cost more and less and everything else. But the problem is finding one that's really solid that you feel like is really going to, you can attach to your phone and then really attach to a rig or attach to whatever you want to put it on, has been very difficult from my perspective. So. I haven't attached this one. My big test, hopefully this week, will be to put that onto a Ronin, which is kind of this Steadicam kind of system. But the main thing is having something that's really solid that you really feel has grabbed onto your phone, that's really stable, it's really gonna stay exactly where you had it. When you put it onto your tripod. I think this is the first one that I found that I'm really comfortable with that doesn't like squeeze it in a weird way or anything else. So, I mean, there are some cases that you can put around it, but I think that I didn't really want to use the cases that kind of enclose it. I do a lot of other things with my phone. So having just a mount that I can screw onto it no matter what case it has on it, was something that I thought was very advantageous. And so anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. And relatively compared to a lot of these other cases at $35, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's only 1/20th of an Alex.
Yeah, and a lot of the ones that I've gotten have been a lot more than that and not been as functional.
The Shoulderpod S1, and it's not just for iPhone. It's got an adjustable grip.
Yep.
So.
You could really put. I tried it with my M8, with my iPhone 6s, and of course it's fine with a little 5. So all of those ranges work fine with it.
Good. Slider not included.
Yeah, that's a little bit more. That's more than $35. That's all I'm saying.
Alex, is there a fancy schmancy technical name for that track?
For the slider?
Yeah.
It's called a slider, actually. It's you can get a mechanical slider.
Not to be confused with White Castle sliders. It's a different.
Yes, exactly. It's not. If you try to treat it like a White Castle slider, you'll have to go to the hospital.
Sorry.
So, but it's like.
Nor should you use a White Castle slider to slowly move a camera across a plane surface.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different. There's a lot of companies that make them.
I was kind of hoping it would be called like a binion rack track push.
Yeah, no, yes, a slider.
Focus.
Sliders are cool. In fact, we should probably get one.
You know what's one of the ones that I haven't.
3000 for video podcast.
We have one.
Sliders.
Oh, John says yes, we should get one. How much are they? Just out of curiosity.
It really ranges. You can get ones for as little as a couple $100 that are manual, and then you can get automatic ones that are more expensive.
Yeah.
One of the ones that we're looking at getting soon for some of the the roundtable show that we do is the Red Rock Micro makes one that is kind of motorized and it just kind of goes back and forth really slowly.
Yeah, that's what we want. Because then then you just switch to it and there's some movement, but it's not really. They had that at the iTunes Festival. That's exactly what they were using. They had a long track in the ceiling, and they would and the camera just went back and forth all the time. And then they just switched to it every once in a while. And you get this, and it's moving very slowly but perceptibly. So you get this nice look.
And so I think Red Rock and what they do is they have one that's it's on a little bit of a curve track. So if you do it with a person, a subject, they stay in focus the whole time. So it doesn't change the
so it would go around me at the whole time and just go.
Yeah, of course. Yep, absolutely.
How much is that one?
I was trying to.
Let's get a Red Rock slider. I want one.
There we go. See,
I want one. It's called One Man Crew, the world's only motorized parabolic motion. Is that it?
That's it.
Let's. Okay, I won't.
$1,500.
I won't get an iWatch. Let's get that instead. Make it so, Mr. Slanina. Jammer B is going to order us one right now. We just put it on the table here. All right. Actually, for my pick, I'm going to introduce Sam Downey, who's here. Come on up, Sam, just real quickly. Sam comes every year for National Epilepsy Awareness Month. Actually, the big day was November 7th. You went again to the Disneyland Resort, right?
I did, yes.
How many people showed up for that?
For this one, we had 4,000 people.
Wow, that's so neat. That's more than you had last year.
Yeah.
And you turned Disneyland purple. That was the idea. Because purple is the official color of epilepsy awareness.
Yes.
You could find out more, by the way, if you go to epilepsyawarenessday.org. And Sam, you do this every year. That's so great.
Every year. Last year was the tester year.
So this is the second year.
The second year.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. So this year we also had had an expo, which was really fantastic. So people can meet surgeons and lots of non-profit charities as well. And when you think about epilepsy, it affects more people than breast cancer in the world, and also more people than Parkinson's and dementia combined. And when you look at those figures, it's immense. So I also I'm a tech guy as well, but I also have epilepsy myself. So that's kind of why I'm behind it. And it's a really good thing when epilepsy affects families. Doing an event at Disneyland is really fantastic because it brings families together.
Sam, it's so great to see you. We were here last week. We didn't get a time to talk. I tried to finish the show in time so we could say hi. Yeah. Where should people, if they want to find out more, if they want to support epilepsy awareness, should they just go to epilepsyawarenessday.org? Is that the best place?
They certainly should. Also, on the website, there's a sponsors page, and when you go to there, for the supporters, you'll get all the non-profits. And so if you want to donate to any epilepsy charities, that's the best place to go at the moment.
Excellent. Sam, it's great to see you. Thank you for the purple bear. I took the other one home, so you could keep that one.
I'm throwing that all around me at the moment.
I really appreciate it. It's great to see you. A voice for epilepsy awareness, Sam Downey. He's on Twitter at
Sam Downey.
DOWNIE.
Correct.
That's Sam Downey. And you're a podcaster too.
I am.
Yep.
Yes. Well,
in the UK.
In the UK, I work with the BBC as well.
Okay, great.
So I work with a tech program called Click. And that's broadcast on BBC World Service on radio.
Neat. That's great.
So I'm doing some features at the moment, all about tech startups in San Francisco.
There are a few, I hear. Thank you. Sam Downey.
Thanks,
that's my pick. Epilepsyawarenessday.org. Hey, I want to thank Andy Ihnatko for being here today from the Chicago Sun-Times. Always great to have you. Always really appreciate. Yeah, really appreciate your insight. And your openness to the idea that there may be something outside of the Apple world.
Also, you're talking to a guy who's just now who's now enthusiastic about eating fruit.
Yeah, and your love for pineapple.
That doesn't show how open I am to new and alien experiences. There you go.
We want to thank Mr. Alex Lindsay for joining us from his studio in Pittsburgh, which I like the 50% gray behind you. I think that is a nice neutral color right behind you.
Yeah, it's a good start. I'm being me, it will keep on changing, but this is where it's at right now.
Awesome. And of course, Rene, Ritchie, imore.com. Great to have you on the show today. And we're gonna solve this. We're gonna fix this issue. I think who's your ISP? Is it Rogers?
Videotron.
Oh, that's right. You're in Montreal. I feel like it might be the ISP is inspecting the packets and saying, we have a phone service ourselves. Maybe you shouldn't be using one of the other guys.
Call them. I will call them in rage later today.
Are you doing deep packet inspection, Videotron? Rogers did.
Yes, they absolutely did. So did Bell.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried running it through a VPN and see what happens?
I use a VPN most of the time, but I don't use it for these.
We could try that because then they wouldn't be able to look at the packets and they might not, even though a VPN normally is slower and so it's not ideal for streaming video, it might actually work better. And that would be a kind of a giveaway.
I do other Hangouts for an hour and a half though, and it doesn't affect them. So I'm not sure what's.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those peering agreements gone wrong in the Midwest somewhere.
or it's a time of day thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's got to be a time of day thing. Yeah. For the last 3 weeks, it happens at about the same exact time.
Yeah. Anyway, we're great that you hung in there through that. Thanks to Jason Howell for working with you behind the scenes as we talked. He made it work better.
He's a miracle worker.
It's a miracle. Thank you, Rene. Thank you all for joining us. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC on twit.tv. If you can watch live, we love seeing you in the chat room and interacting with you. But if you can't, hey, it's no problem. On-demand audio and video always available after the fact at twit.tv/MBW, youtube.com/MacBreak and on those great Twit apps on the Roku, on all the platforms, iOS, Android, and Windows Phone, and, of course, wherever podcasts are aggregated. Because, podcasts are going through a renaissance right now. So everybody should start listening to one soon. Thanks, everybody. Now back to work, because you know what? Break time is over.